Hey everybody, welcome to the Purpose People podcast. Today, I've got the CEO with us from The Wave. Hazel, lovely to have you on the sofa today, or the small chair.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, obviously, The Wave, now, for people that don't know about The Wave, it's quite an impressive structure and feature to the countryside. So, could you just share us a little bit about what The Wave is?
So the way we describe the wave is it's a slice of the ocean inland. So it's an incredible piece of wave-making technology nestled in the heart of the English countryside just outside of Bristol, where we can create up to 1,000 waves an hour. Wow. And we have over 150,000 people surfing with us every single year and over about 250,000 visitors to the site, where you can come and you can use our skate park, or you can come to our play park, or just enjoy being by the sound of the waves, even though you're nowhere near the sea.
So out of all the jobs you could do in the world, how did you end up in this one?
I feel incredibly lucky to have found this role. So The Wave was created by an incredible founder, Nick Hounsfield, and I come from a leisure background. I worked for David Lloyd Leisure for about 9.5 years, 6 years here in the UK and 3.5 years for them out in India. And I just love consumer-facing businesses and businesses where you make people happy and healthier by what you do as a job every single day. Yeah. And so the fitness industry does that. Whether everyone's happy when they're in the gym is a kind of a debatable point, but we all know that exercise makes you happier and healthier generally as you do. Of course. And so when I was looking for my next move, I kept looking at different organizations and businesses that sat within that consumer experience space. And when the role came up at The Wave, as someone who loves the outdoors, it's just an absolutely perfect fit for me. But then when you delve more into the reasons The Wave was created in the first instance, that ability to actually make people happy and healthy, that's part of our purpose, it really resonated with me. And the ability to bring more people into contact with a sport that is growing, but we're challenged in the UK with we don't have that consistency of waves. Yeah. What an incredible thing to be part of.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because for me, is it the only one in this country? Is there other people that have tried it? Because I heard of the technology about 15 to 20 years ago, and they were using it in Dubai. And so, just for context, is it the only one of its kind in the UK?
So at the moment, we're the only surf park in the UK. There used to be one in Wales, but unfortunately, the technology there was a really first iteration of the technology. And therefore, at the moment, that's not in operation. So we are the only wave park at the moment in the UK. There are static waves, which is what you may have heard of previously. And they've been around for a lot longer, where effectively you're standing on a wave that's being created, but you're not really moving anywhere. You're moving side to side. Yeah. Whereas what we create is much more of what you would see in the ocean. So a rolling wave that goes from the back of our pool all the way to the front, allowing you to surf the whole lake in a way that is truly realistic to an ocean riding wave. So
without wanting to say, or I put you on the spot, but you a surfer?
I am an aspiring surfer, I think is the best description of it. So I had, like many people, been to the beach in Cornwall at some point in my life and done a little bit of bodyboarding and tried a surf lesson with my mum and my brother a long time ago. And then the first time I tried The Wave was when I first heard about the opportunity. But realistically, I started lessons when I joined The Wave back in June last year. Wow. And I am now going through our training academy, going through the pathway, and I've made my way from beginner to Waikiki. I'm now an intermediate, and I'm toying with the desire to go up to advanced, or the desire not to make a fool of myself. But everyone's been so welcoming. That's the great thing. That's probably next week's challenge for myself.
So once you've obviously learned in that environment or whatever, how easy is it to make the transition into the real sea, so to speak? Is it easier? Is it harder? Like the difference between dry ski slope skiing and then going on a real slope. What's the...
So having not done a lot of ocean surfing myself, I can't give you a huge amount of experience in that, although I have done some. The reality for me is that where you're on the wave, at the Wave in Bristol, you can consistently practice, and you can practice and practice. What's different then when you're on the ocean is that there's no one telling you where to stand. There's no one telling you when to take off, when to paddle. You have to learn how to watch where the wave's coming, decide whether that's waves right or go. But when you actually do take the wave, if you've been coming to us, you will have learned how to do your pop-up, how to ride that wave, how to turn, all of those pieces. That's really, really important.
Yeah.
So the first bit, the actual learning how to take the wave, is going to be something you're going to have to learn when you're out on the ocean. But everything else you will have learned by coming to a wave pool. And then you have people who are just wave pool surfers like myself. At some point, I'll have to go and try and transition that to the ocean. But for now, I'm a great fan of the man-made wave surfing.
No, it's great, because I've seen, I've seen the sort of like the technology that allows you to try these things without having to drive for miles or be stuck on the M5 forever. When we come to a bank holiday, the M5 is gridlocked because everyone's trying to drive down to Croydon and places like that. And now it's like, well, you don't need to. You could just try and book a spot with a wave and go up there. So I'm interested to hear you a little bit more about your background in terms of where you went. So you mentioned that you've been in the leisure industry for as long as whatever. So talk to me about you being at school and then going, right, I could be anything I want in the world. What did you think when you were at school then?
Yeah, I think I went through every type of career I could possibly do, but I come from a long line of engineers.
Okay.
And I knew that I liked tinkering with things, designing things, and really solving problems.
Yeah.
And through a variety of conversations, engineering was the right way for me to go, to say, okay, actually that puts you in good stead to do anything you want to.
Yeah.
It's a tricky old degree to go and do, but that was where I felt that I would get the biggest breadth of knowledge, everything from business to maths and problem solving. I remember the first week of my university course was take apart a lawnmower, put it back together again with as few pieces as possible and still make it work, which I think is it was really good fun. But that's where I loved, looking at a problem and trying to find the solution to it that perhaps other people haven't looked at before.
Yeah.
And so I went down the engineering route. And whilst I graduated and went straight into engineering, I didn't stay in that career very long. I decided that I preferred solving business problems rather than engineering problems per se.
So what was the first job then you got from the degree?
I was a graduate engineer at Nissan. So I was a manufacturing engineer on their production, with their production line up in Sunderland, and then very quickly transitioned to management consultancy. So a big kind of U-turn. Yeah. But the way I always describe it is that my job in Nissan was to fix problems with cars. My job with IBM as a management consultant was to fix problems with businesses.
Yeah.
It was always the same. Diagnose what the problem is, look at all the potential solutions to that, and then come up with a way to implement one of those solutions. It's the same thing, just not looking at nuts and bolts, looking at spreadsheets and business charts.
Did you find, because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but did you feel like it's quite a male-dominated sort of environment that you were in, or do you feel that did you have to battle that female at the top sort of thing and telling people what to do, particularly in the car industry, let's say, in automotive?
The automotive industry is or was, we're talking a few years ago now, but even in my degree there were 120 men on my course, and there were 4 women, and so therefore just the engineering graduates for the companies to even go and recruit from, there wasn't a diverse enough pool. So it's hard to sort of say from the car company's perspective or the automotive industries, that's almost not their problem to solve. That's almost a problem for us as a society to solve, ensuring that women go into STEM subjects, which allows them to then going into engineering, which then allows the companies to recruit those. And the companies can obviously play a part in that. I found it a very welcoming environment. I loved wearing a boiler suit and steelies every day to work, but I also felt that it wasn't quite the right thing for me, not because it was a male-dominated environment or anything like that, just because actually I wanted to solve wider business problems rather than more nuts and bolts problems. Yeah.
So what would you say, when I talk about purpose, because obviously this is the Purpose People podcast, would you say you're living life on purpose now, where you find yourself in the role that you're in?
I try. I don't think I achieve it all the time. I think like I said, I I spent some time trying to work out what it was I really enjoyed about the role I had at David Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left management consultancy, I wanted to work in a business rather than on a business, because I felt that you could better understand the customer and then serve them better if you got closer to understanding what it was that they wanted, or that they didn't necessarily know they wanted, but you could provide for them. When I then moved back from India and took some time to figure out what I wanted to do next, thank you to COVID as well for that opportunity, I spent time figuring out what it was that I wanted and where I fit best in the world. And what I realized was that I fit best where I felt that I was making people happier by what I was doing. They may not always agree with every decision I make from a business perspective, but that actually the end goal is that hopefully people have a fabulous experience in the product that I'm selling. I'm not trying to sell them something they don't need. I'm trying to sell them something that will enhance their life. And therefore, going to work every day means that I wake up with a sense of purpose for that exact reason, that I'm not selling something that I don't believe in.
Yeah. So interesting, you said you were at David Lloyd and then you went to David Lloyd India. What was a transition there? Because obviously India, it's different culture, different environment. Often people go there because they're trying to find out what life is about, potentially trying to find themselves. So what was the motivation behind you, David Lloyd and then David Lloyd India?
So David Lloyd India didn't exist.
Okay.
So it was an opportunity to set up a joint venture in India between David Lloyd and another company called Tawakkuz. And so I was asked if I would go out there to set up that JV, build the first ever David Lloyd club outside of Europe.
Wow.
And so embarked on a 3.5-year journey to do that. A very different journey to one that many people take when they go to India.
Yeah.
And in a city like Pune, which is about the size of Birmingham, but 9 million people living there. So it's...
scale's massive. It's just crazy.
Yeah, second largest GDP in India, but the 9th largest city. So an incredible place to be. A huge journey, a huge opportunity for me. With all of the frustrations and challenges, but a huge amount of resilience building and experience from my perspective, and to spend time in such a beautiful country as India, where you can then travel and see all these places that other people might only get to experience once in their life. It was an incredible opportunity that it just felt would be wrong if I turned that down.
Did you know, from a people perspective, because obviously there's a lot of poverty within India and stuff. Did you take anything back from learning, about the culture and then back into the UK? Is there stuff that's stuck with you? Because obviously you work in the West, you turn the tap of water on and it's there. We take so much for granted. But when you're going to an emergent country where they haven't got the infrastructure, are there things that you've learned from just being in that environment?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is that happiness is in our own control. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's got nothing to do with how much money you have. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with your job or your family. It is in your control. And some of the happiest people I met in India were people who didn't have what we take for granted in the West, but they chose to be happy, and they chose to be happy with what they had. And whilst they always wanted to better themselves and better their life and their environment, they weren't busy comparing themselves to others or looking at others and saying, I don't have what they have and therefore I'm either jealous or unhappy. That isn't part of their thought process.
It's a great observation in terms of the disease of comparison, because we're totally caught up in that.
100%. And I think the West is absolutely consumed by that at the moment. And so we talk about poverty in the UK, and there absolutely is, but not to the same scale as you see there. And there is a problem. I think there's a challenge that we all have, and it's across all levels of society, around what is the difference between aspiration and jealousy, and a belief of I haven't got enough because I haven't got what I think I want, versus I'm happy with what I have. That doesn't mean I can't want more, and I can aspire to have that, but actually I have to be happy with what I am and who I am and where I am, because happiness isn't somewhere in the future, it's today. And I think that's the thing that I now listen back, or I listen to lots of podcasts and things like that, and you listen to people who have got what everyone thinks is, the path to happiness, the money and the houses and all these things. They're no happier than anybody else is. No. It's a personal choice to be happy.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's about gratitude.
100%.
From a point of aspect of, you can very quickly focus on what you haven't got. So you wake up in the morning and it's like, right, I've got to go after the day. I've got to get this, that, and the other. And if I get that, then great, I'm happy. And you might not get that. So now you judge the day and go, that day wasn't great. But in reality is you woke up. Your family are talking to you. You know what I mean? You're
Exactly.
engaging with them. It's like for instance, today on podcast day, my eldest is 17. Now I look at that and I go, wow, so birthday today. And I can't believe that we've done 17 years. It's just flown by. And you look back and you go, I'm grateful that I've had that journey. And so when I reflect back on Bella, because we actually talked about it this morning, when Bella was born, we didn't know until the second one that Bella was resuscitated. So when she was born breech. And so she had the umbilical cord around the neck. And they wrote on the notes, had to resuscitate. So when we were going for the second child, when they got the big, I think it's an orange booklet, and went through the notes, we actually saw that written in the notes. We had no clue. And the thing there is, it's just like, wow, I reflect back and I'm so grateful that we've had those 17 years because we almost didn't, and I think that puts into perspective all the other things that happen in life, because we can celebrate those things and they're right in front of us often, the things that we need to celebrate, because we're chasing the dream, chasing this, whatever. And this is what I like about the wave, in the sense is it's about taking time out of the busy days and this, that, and the other, and hang out with the people that you love the most.
And I think that's it. That it's such an important message for people to just be grateful for the things you have, and that it's very easy to think about the things you don't have, and it's very easy to think about the things you want but you don't necessarily have at the moment. And I spent some time with my daughter yesterday. She's only 5, about to turn 6, and she was really sad because her friend had left. We'd had a lovely play date and the friend had left, and I said, but that's the challenge with love. That's the challenge with things you really, really enjoy. In order to enjoy them, they have to be fleeting. They can't last forever. It's like a holiday. If you were on holiday for the rest of your life, it wouldn't be a holiday anymore. It wouldn't have that sense of delight. And I think that piece of being able to take a moment and say, I'm really grateful for the moment that I've had. I'm really sad that it's gone, but I'm only sad because it was so wonderful. And I think that piece, that we're just in our hustle and bustle lives, it's very difficult to take that moment. And I enjoy that from surfing as well, because I guess, as well as someone who's learning, there is nothing else I can focus on in the moment of trying to get up on a surfboard than trying to get up on a surfboard. I am not thinking about a spreadsheet or anything else. All I am thinking about is make sure I'm not looking down, try not to face plant, this will be brilliant. And then when you're up, all you are is so blooming delighted that you've managed to get up on a surfboard and that you want to stay standing up. And then you get in the water and everything is exhilarating. And you come out, and no matter if you had a bad session or a good session, you caught lots of waves, not so many waves, nobody is leaving with a frown on their face. Everyone is smiling.
And I think that's the key thing. It's like what you've described there. It forces you to live life in the present. And I think that's, again, we talk about cultures and stuff like that. We're always imagining the future, particularly if you're in a high-powered position, CEO or business owner or entrepreneur, whatever. You're always trying to imagine the future. And so you're always there and you're always trying to take people on a journey with you. And yes, there's an element of, learning from the past, but sometimes we dwell on the past through failure and go, oh, if I had done this differently or whatever. The reality is you didn't. So you have to let it go. But we don't spend enough. If we proportioned our mind space, we don't spend enough in the present.
Exactly.
Just being in the room, in here, we're doing a podcast, we're present here, and quieting our minds down, thinking, oh, what's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And I think we often live our life where we're present, but we're not present. We're in the next room. And I think that's what I like about the wave, for example, is that you can't, because you're going to fall in and you're going to smash your face and you're going to drown. So you need to focus right now in this moment, but create the experience that you can laugh at.
Well, the good news is not many people smash their face or
no,
drown.
That's good.
I'm just gonna put that one out
yeah,
there.
Let's carry it.
But definitely that's what you see. You see people of every age, every ability, every background coming and trying something. And whether they are an expert or whether they are a beginner, they are completely in the moment and they are just spending that time. And then even for the duration afterwards, there's at least an hour, if not longer afterwards, where again, their thoughts aren't immediately back to the emails because they're too busy reliving that experience that they've just had that is so unique, so different. It's a real talking point for them. And everyone, what you see is that people are grateful for having taken that time out and spent it doing something different. One of the things we're seeing now is more and more corporate groups coming to the Wave because we've got some beautiful spaces where they can host their events, but it also means that they can take time out as a team. Because surfing's not so prevalent in the UK, it means that everybody is at a level playing field. I'm sorry, but nobody looks good in a wetsuit. So therefore, it doesn't matter what size you are, what shape you are. Nobody cares. Everyone's in a big black suit looking like they're a weird penguin. And so therefore it's an amazing team experience where everyone is individually trying their best, but the cheering and the whooping when people are standing up, that experience as a group is really, really powerful as well. And so for team away days, corporate away days, people sometimes don't even go in the water. They just want to be near the water because of, again, just the power of that. We've all sat by the ocean at some point and listened to the waves break. And again, it's very hard to sit on your emails or send a text message with any kind of aggression in it whilst you're sitting there with this beautiful melodic sound of waves breaking. And so that's the incredible environment that's been created by the Wave. And it's in 75 acres of beautiful green countryside.
And that's incredible because you're right. Again, the team, constantly focus on delivering deadlines, constantly living in the future. We've got to get this done, this done, or made a mistake here. How do we fix it? Whatever else. But what you're doing is you're saying, look, let's take the team out. Let's put you in a different environment. Let's have a level playing field in a sense and just have fun. Create those memories. Because ultimately, when we look back at our life, it's not the stuff that we earned, it's the memories that we have.
100%, right? No one remembers a spreadsheet that they wrote 5 years ago.
Or the email that they sent.
I mean, I'm going to say that, and then my FD is probably going to listen to this and go, no, I definitely remember the spreadsheets. But no one does, right? You don't remember those emails, but you do remember the time you spent as a team. And when you're having a difficult, challenging conversation with somebody at work, if you've spent time with them away from work, getting to know them as a human being, it's a really important thing to allow us all to do our jobs more effectively and just enjoy work as much as we enjoy life, because work is life, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just about, for me, it's about focusing on, these things allow you to find out more about the person, that they're more than their job role. They have, and often we don't have those questions to ask because we're too busy to ask those deeper questions. So being put in an environment that's a level playing field that allows those relationships to flourish, allows those things, I remember when you fell in and this, and there's a conversation there that now it's not just about work.
Exactly.
And if that person decides to move on, they can still have the relationship because they remember that day that they were out there. And so for me, it's definitely living in the present. I'm very much a futurist. So it's like, I'm always, what's the next thing? How do we get there? Whatever else. So I've had to slow myself down into the present and really recognize that, if I don't, I'm going to miss all these memories, and that's what it's about at the end of the day.
And I think it's so important, especially at the moment where we've got digital screens taking over our lives, right? It's very hard to take that time out where you can't have a screen. So even when you go to the cinema, even when you go somewhere else where you think you're going to be able to switch off, you go to the bowling alley, you go somewhere that you can still have your phone in your pocket, you can still hear it vibrate, you can still hear it do these sorts of things. I wouldn't advise putting your phone in your pocket when you're going out surfing, right?
Exactly.
Nobody does. And so that complete switch off from the digital world is also really refreshing. I just think that's an important piece for us to think about as well.
Well, it's the freedom. It's the freedom that sometimes things resolve themselves without you being in the room or you solving it. And it certainly helps an entrepreneur, a business owner, or even a CEO avoid superhero syndrome. Or we're going to come in and we're going to save the day. Actually, sometimes they will figure it out. And those sorts of things by saying, let's go and experience, let's go and have fun. And all this can just wait for a minute. Let's just build the team, because if we're stronger as a team, we'll be able to take on bigger challenges, and we know how one another work, how they interact, or whatever else. But let's not make it about work. The challenge is, can you stand up on that board? And then you'll see someone that's the quietest all of a sudden helping someone and figures it out more than anybody else, and they become like the hero for the day, and that sticks. I remember years ago I tried jet skiing. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't.
So going back to you trying to stand on a surfboard, standing on a jet ski is nigh on impossible as well. And the smaller that you are, the easier it is. So the bigger you are, it's harder to do. But again, there was our mate called Adam, who was the smallest amongst us, and he was, by the end of it, was just zipping around the lake, flying around, because he learned to do it. But every time we spoke to him, oh look, there he is, and there's the jet ski pro, and it's just creates a smile on your face. And it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It's about happiness. It's like being happy in the moment, being happy as a company together, having fun is a great way to do it. And what better place to do it in the middle of the countryside, where you can hear birds, see beautiful sky, and whatever else.
And that for me, that's one of the joys of what I do, and the ability to see corporate groups coming and doing it. But the same we have a product called Play in the Bay, which is for children who aren't yet ready to start surfing, or actually people who just want to try bodyboarding, being in the waves, etc. And so
that'd be me.
Yeah, and it's incredible. So if you're under 8, you go in with your parent. If you're over 8, you can go in on your own. But you just see huge families, multiple groups of people, just smiling and enjoying family time in a way that's really hard to do anywhere else, because either you're at a play park or you're somewhere else. Here, you're in the water with your child. I went in with my daughter the other day, and she was on my back trying to do bodyboarding, the two of us, in a way that if she and I tried to replicate that in any other form, I don't know where else I would get that same experience with her. And my eldest one's big enough to now start to surf. And so Little Rippers is our kind of introductory surfing program, where I go in the water with her and she's trying to stand up on a surfboard. And the pure delight. So she now can tell all her friends that she's a surfer. I mean, she stood up 3 times. It was impressive. I was happy. But it's just that piece of, for her and me to have that time together, out of the clutches of anything that is remotely related to work, even when I'm actually on my work premises, it's an incredible experience.
So what does the future hold? I mean, obviously you're in your role, you've been in the role for a year. I'm not asking if you're going to transition out or anything, but what do you see the future with the Wave? Do you see it open to more businesses and encourage more people? I mean, has it got the capacity for that? And then beyond that, is this going to be the only wave? Are there going to be many waves?
So the Wave in Bristol has been open since 2019. Yeah. And as we know, the first couple of years of post-2019, we won't talk about too much. And so we're still a really new business. So the big focus for us is how successful can we make Bristol? You know, how do we make sure that it retains its authenticity, that it retains that vision of creating a happier and healthier world with every single wave, of giving people of all ages and abilities and backgrounds access to this incredible blue and green space, whilst being a commercially successful venture in the process. So a lot of our focus is on that. How can we do things differently? And people who are regular visitors to the Wave will see changes that come in this year. We've just announced that we're having our lighting installed, so we'll be able to do flood lighting, which means that we're not quite so beholden to the shorter days as we go into August and September. We've also announced that we're doing automated videography, so it means that people will be able to surf and then get videos of themselves automatically at the end of their surf session. So there's lots of innovations and things. As this is a really new industry, new things come in, how do we integrate that? So there's a big focus on Bristol. How do we make that the most successful? How do we encourage more visitors? But also, yes, we aspire to be a multi-site business. These things don't get built overnight. No. And so we will move towards doing the site. We've always talked about our ambitions in London with our site over in Enfield. Okay. And we will continue to work towards that being our second site. But it's really very much how do we make Bristol summer the best summer possible, whilst keeping an eye on what the future holds for the Wave with multiple sites.
So in light of that, we've talked about, the purpose. We talked about, the living in the moment or whatever. From you as a mother and with your children, what do you hope for them?
I hope that they find a way to keep themselves happy. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I hope they find a way of living their life that gives them all the things they want. So a way to create wealth for themselves, whether that's financial, emotional, all of those things. And in doing so, finds a job and a career that gives them that. Because I've been really lucky throughout my career in terms of I've always been able to find roles that actually give me deep fulfillment, and therefore I don't have the Sunday night blues, the Monday morning dreads, any of those sorts of things, because I truly do love what I do. That doesn't mean to say that I don't have difficult days.
Yeah, of course.
But I really hope that my daughters get that same ability to be able to go, I can do anything I want to, I can work in any career I want to, but what I want to do is find something that gives me passion and purpose and gives them joy in what they do, because I work-life balance is something that people talk about a lot. I was listening to something this morning talk much more about trying to find work-life harmony, because balance is never quite achievable.
Yeah.
But actually it's made much, much easier if you enjoy work and it becomes part of your life. And so that's, I think, the thing that I would wish for them.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing for me is purpose. So for instance, if they could build a life around purpose, then purpose has its various different outworking, so to speak. The vehicle might change. They might end up traveling. They might end up doing things. But if they can find out what that purpose is, then, it allows them to feel fulfilled. Because ultimately, I believe that if you don't have purpose, there's always that nagging, am I doing the right thing? I'm not doing this, and for us, it's like, having interviewed so many different people, the continual thing I see is that purposeful questions aren't asked early enough in life. And I think that's what I'd love to see is, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Money, no object. Well, actually, I would like to do this. Then how can we help you get to that point? Now, I know maybe someone at 11 might say, I want to be an astronaut or whatever, and it might be a dream. But then again, it can be. And let's remove those limitations and see how we can actually help people do what they want to do. And I think if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, the big thing then I see is that if you know you're doing what you're supposed to, it removes comparison. So all of a sudden you're not on Instagram, trying to see what everybody else is doing, because you're so consumed by doing what you're supposed to be doing that you enjoy life. So it's not, I'm taking a picture to compete. It's just like, here's a snapshot of me enjoying life and someone else is enjoying life. And I think what purpose does is it removes that area of competing and creates the area of completing. So it's like, well, yours might be there, but if we work together, we might be able to help each other. And that surely is a much better position to be in life and education.
I agree. I think one of the things that's challenging for children is that they don't get exposed to all of the variety of what life has to offer in terms of careers and opportunities. And so if you don't know what a dentist does or what a videographer does or what somebody, all of these different careers, how can you know whether or not any of those are good or bad? I didn't know what most careers were until I was looking for graduate jobs after coming out of university. So how on earth do I know what I should be studying if I wasn't really exposed to that? And I think that's one of the things that my children, I hope we can give them exposure to, is all of the different things that you can be. Because then I think it's very hard sometimes. I think for some people, they can find their purpose really easily. I think for some people, that comes very naturally. For other people, finding what it is that drives them and what gives them enjoyment and fulfillment, it's harder to find. So they might need to try things. And I think giving people that, the ability to try and fail and go, actually, this isn't right. I think we're moving from, an era of where everyone stayed in their job or their career their whole lives. Now people flit and change from one career to another. And, if we can help our children go and try things, and then if they're not working, go to the next thing, but doing so with a purposeful, trying to find what it is that actually is going to keep them fulfilled and allow them to add value both to themselves and to other people, I think that's where they'll really benefit. Yeah,
I think, looking at statistics now, they reckon the young person doesn't stay in the job any longer than 18 months.
It's quite quick, yes.
It doesn't give you enough to grow. You got to put your roots down, and you need to grow. And I think there's the element of us being able to support as a society people to go, right, what are you good at? What naturally comes easy to you? Because I feel what's happened with the education system is that people are put in these boxes and they're not succeeding, but we just got to do it anyway, just carry on. And it's not until university or whatever where they, like you're saying, that then they go, oh, maybe there's something else I can do. But that's where I'm at, is where it'd be great to ask those questions earlier. And that's for one of the reasons why our kids are homeschooled, because we can ask those questions on a regular basis rather than allow a program to run through 10 years before we even ask that question.
And that's why I think it's that visibility piece. How do you do it? So I use the example of a dentist only because a dentist came to my daughter's nursery the other day, and now she wants to be a dentist when she grows up.
That's incredible.
And it's that piece that says that visibility is what gives people the ability to choose. And so if my children are exposed to all of this different plethora of careers that are out there that they could go down, and they don't necessarily need to be careers per se, they could be aspirational things, etc. It gives them that opportunity and just opens their eyes to all of the opportunities that this world has to offer them. Then they're more likely to find things that suit their kind of inward desire, like their innate desires or talents. Because if you have a talent but you don't know how that might ever be useful, it's really hard for anybody to channel you. And it's really I feel for teachers, because in many cases, many of them haven't been out in the corporate world and haven't seen the variety of different roles either. And so how do we, as business people, as parents, support schools and educational establishments to be able to show different opportunities and what different career paths can look like, so that gives our children an idea of what the future could be.
And I think that's, like with yourself, like raising the profile of particularly the wave and say, look, there's a job that you could actually help people be happy. Well, I didn't know you could do something like that. Yeah. I mean, I've got a friend who is psychologist at Liverpool Football Club, and they get so a young kid gets signed, they get the mum and dad in, and the first thing she does, so what are you? And they go, I'm a footballer, and I'm going to change I'm going to make, and then she says, no, you're a human first and foremost, and you've got less than 1% chance of making it as a Premier League football player. So all of a sudden it brings not only the child down to earth, but brings the parents to earth. And then she goes, but if you don't make it as a pro footballer, here's all the other things you could do. And so that was probably me when I wanted to be a footballer as a kid. I didn't see that you could be a coach, you could be a physiotherapist, because we weren't exposed to that sort of stuff. And I think that's a key point for me, is that, if you are visible and showing people about living life on purpose and showing people that you can be successful in multiple fields, do multiple roles, then that's the responsibility that we should all take as leaders, business owners, whatever, to say, listen, it's not all on you passing your exams just at school. It's not all on that one day of exams. There's a life after that. And I think for me that helps, because I think what you end up with is a whole load of people doing jobs they don't like and constantly trying to escape, and for me it's like, no, if you do the job that you want to do, you'll see it as a job, but also you can go and enjoy, because you're being paid decent money, because why? You enjoy it, and naturally you'll get better at it.
And that's, we when we're recruiting for the Wave, it's we get incredibly talented people applying to come and work at the Wave, because who wouldn't want to work and have that as your office?
Exactly.
I mean, one of the most beautiful offices you can ever imagine, but also you get to do good in the world, right?
Yeah.
We are a corporate entity, right? We are a commercial business, but we make people happy every day.
Yeah.
And how to be able to do that as part of the marketing function or the IT function or the sales function, because we are a commercial business and we have to have all those things. I think it's really important that people understand that there are incredible businesses out there doing all these really fun and exciting things, and you can have a role within them. And I'm just super grateful that I get to do that as my job.
No, it's incredible. And, for me, it's like, again, a little slice of happiness in the middle of the countryside. Amazing. I'm actually going to see it for the first time tomorrow.
Indeed.
So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you for taking the time to spend some time on the sofa and just sharing your story. So really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And happy birthday to your daughter.
How would people get in touch with you? Is it just thewave.co.uk?
We're thewave.com.
.com.
And then if you wanted to come for group inquiries, you can find all the details. Everything's on there.
All right. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you for listening to the Purpose People podcast. You can obviously see us on YouTube, where you can see our wonderful setting here that we film every time we do a podcast. But you can also listen to us just in your ears on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Google. Please like and subscribe to YouTube, and please leave a review on our podcast. It really helps us get the message out that can help people live a life on purpose, for purpose. We want to help you make purpose a priority.